Hey all, Sir Penguin here, and we're doing another replay review. For this game, we're looking at Meatheras' Ayyubids up against Snowy's Ottomans. So, Meatheras has submitted this one for the replay review series, and we are going to see, once again, how to play against Ottomans. My Twitch chat just mentioned the bear statue, and just look at that in its glory. Look at that. It's thick with 2 C's. Thank you, Twitch chat, for pointing that out. Look at that guy. We got a fishing ship over here. So, Ottoman's opening, pretty standard. Gonna go into a military school. Getting the stone for a military school, but not building one immediately. No, there it goes. Oh, somebody watches Valdemar. See that little, like, just the little offsetedness so that it'll be in a blacksmith range when the blacksmith is right here. That's nice. That's well placed. Assuming he uses it. It could also go this way, I guess. Now, we're looking at Meatheras' game here. So, so this is going to be a loss for Meatheras, which is why we're looking at it. We're going to take a look at what he could have done to counter the Ottomans. And I believe the opponent is running the sort of standard fast imp Ottoman build to get to that death ball in Imperial. Now, generally in this matchup, my recommendation for most players is to go in early. Try to do damage. Force this Ottoman player to spend resources because they want to use those resources for tech and age ups and not units. They don't want to touch their production for as long and as fast as they can because they want to get like a 12-minute Imperial age. Get him the gold. Nothing crazy. We're just looking at the early game here. Another thing to think about with this matchup for anybody playing is Ayyubids has some good tools for fighting against early Ottomans because Ottomans are going to get Sipahi, they're going to get archers, they're going to get spears, they're going to get a little bit of everything if they have to build units. So spears already coming out, obviously, for the military school, and those are going to put on a little bit of pressure. Nothing too crazy happening here. Actually, not going to pressure. Just going to build up a little mass. That's smart as well. We'll get the age up coming through now for Ayyubids. Let's see what Meatheras decides to go up with here. Here he is in chat, in Discord rather, so we can hear his thoughts as we go through as well. All right, so
I may have to leave soon because I have a meeting.
No worries. Good luck with your meeting. All right. So we're looking at the Eco Wing Industry. Is that for TCs?
Yeah, so I thought that I could be smart and get Eco Wing Industry, which gives me wood. Then I could like maybe attack the Ottomans early. And that didn't pan out the way that I wanted it to.
Yeah. I think the only reason to get the industry wing is to build TCs. Is if you're going to build a whole bunch.
Yep. I did learn that now. Again, like I said, this game is a mess, and I want you to look through it because I thought I was being creative, and I wasn't.
Yeah.
So I want to know.
Yeah, the Eco Wing is good, but I think the growth is the better option just in general because it'll boost you up against the early boosts that Ottomans get. Yeah. I was just saying as you were gone here that basically you know, the main goal of the early game against the Ottomans is to force them to make units. And you can tell this guy's watched Valdemar because he displaced the the military school by like a square, by a tile, so that he could get the blacksmith connected to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like he knows what he's doing. I thought I was being clever. But
yeah. All right, so wood coming up for so I assume you're going to use this to make military buildings, production buildings, then.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Ottoman's playing it super standard, as you'd expect. Too many bills on berries. Chat, you're only supposed to put 4. There he goes. He switched it off. So he does know what he's doing. Archery range coming up for Meatheras, yeah. And I mean, if you're going into archery ranges especially, even with this wood, the eco wing industry, you're gonna need wood to pay for your units. So this is gonna be delayed even though you do get the early military buildings up. And I saw what you're trying to do with the food and the gold, but and you'll get the gold to like age up or whatever. But if you're also gonna be making camel riders or desert raiders, you're gonna lose that gold anyway. So yeah, I would say maybe if you're gonna put early pressure on, you only need like 2 villagers on gold, or maybe 3 for the cost of these guys, because you don't have any wood right now, and you're gonna need wood. Like if you're gonna build 2 buildings with that 300 wood you get, you're gonna need it anyways. So I would transfer off and make sure you're gathering wood as you age up. That goes for everybody, chat. If you're aging up to feudal, make sure to get some wood. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so as we're going in here, we're gonna want some wood for the feudal age to make sure we can make the units that are gonna come out of our production buildings. We get the production buildings out, but they don't give us a whole lot of value unless we start producing the instant they come out. And so in the end, this wing is not going to be too useful for this play. So a little bit. That's my first big note here. Lots of sheep though, so good job on the sheep. But he's going to get what's it called, Anatolian Hills, and get sheep anyway with the berries. So that's a frustrating. But regardless, I like the sheep here. Yeah. So my next thought is here, I don't hate walls against Ottomans, but going into stone walls this early is going to delay you on other resources. So again, the military units, we still don't have any production coming out of the military buildings. So this is actually also delaying you. Even though it's going to protect you, it's too messy. It's too messy. So there's too much going on. And I think you need to simplify this to wood, lots of food, a little bit of gold, so you can just immediately start making units. Because now we have 1,000 gold, and we're not really using it on anything. Meanwhile, Ottoman player is just teching up toward Castle Age. And the Ottoman player is not really using... I say this jokingly, and this is for YouTube and chat and everybody. I'm joking. But the Ottoman player is not using his brain here. He's just blasting toward Castle Age. So this brain dead Ottoman strat against a very complex approach with the Ayyubids is not going to work out here. You really have to just go, in my opinion, to fight Ottomans, you can't use your brain. You just have to attack. You have to put all the pedal to the metal and start producing units right when you get to feudal, so that they have to make units, because he only has 5 units here. If you had started producing as soon as these military buildings came up, so you get desert raiders, things like that, or whatever, horsemen out of a stable, then you can put pressure onto this, and he doesn't have any units to defend it with, because he hasn't even built a production building that he can make his own units from. Just 2 military schools now. And again, these walls are delaying you. They're doing more to delay you than they are to support your build right now. He's not attacking you. You haven't really scouted much production. So until Imperial Age, these walls aren't really going to do a whole lot for you. Got a lot of food and gold here, so going towards Castle Age. Thing is, what is Ottoman's doing? Yeah, he should be, a little late to Castle Age, but with this amount of food, he's going to have no problem macroing straight up into Imperial off of this. Because again, no production coming out of the production buildings. Just going to go ahead, build them the Imperial Armory, the MIA, as we like to call it, and get a free mangonel for defense. And that's just going to help defend and push forward into the Imperial Age. So yeah, there's too many delays going on this side. There's not enough unit production. 4 units at the 10-minute mark, if you're going to try to pressure the opponent, is not going to be your number. And again, too much gold here. So if you're going Castle Age, even if you are going Castle Age, probably one too many villagers on gold. I can see you've pulled off now to try to go Castle Age. But you have to make a choice. Are you making units or are you aging up? And in the current meta, I think you have to do one or the other. And it looks like you're trying to do both while also building walls. So like I said, there's just too many things happening here. There's too many steps. When you can reduce this to 2 or 3 steps, or 1 to 2 steps rather, instead of 2 or 3. I do like this pressure. It's late though. It's really late because now Ottomans, they're trying to click up, and they also have a few units from their military schools. They got Sipahi, they got spears, they even have an archer out now. Sipahi, you're so strong. Did he activate? No, he didn't. Okay, I thought he activated Fortitude for a second, but it's just camels beating up on horsemen. I almost would have liked to see this tower come up closer, but you would have needed more units to do it, I think. I mean, you have archers. You could have pushed these spearmen back and built this tower, because this tower here is good for vision, and I like it for the vision, but it's not really doing a whole lot. I talked about this in the video I did for A-Man as well. If you want this tower to do a lot, you want to get him off of resources. Maybe off the gold, off the stone, or even potentially off of his food. But it looks like he's going for food on the back and now has his own tower coming up. And this tower would have stopped him from securing this, but now he's got this position secured with this tower. So I like the idea here. I like the goal and the intention, but it's not doing a whole lot in this location. You probably want it more like, I'm going to say right here in between the golds and the stone. And then it also would have cut off the deer. Because your army would have beat this at that moment. But now it's too late. And it's really looking too late. So yeah, first, the biggest note I have is don't try to do so much at once. I make this mistake. And the only way to frame it is a mistake. There's sometimes I'm like, well, I want everything, right? It makes sense sort of conceptually, but in practice, it's just too hard. It's too difficult. I certainly couldn't have pulled this off if I had tried to do this, and I don't think anybody I play with could have pulled this off. It's just too many things. And the walls, again, delayed you quite a bit because these are resources. This is like maybe 200 resources that could have been gathered elsewhere, if not more. Got a ram up now, or a Mangano. And yeah, so this is where this build kind of goes wrong. You need to choose either Castle Age or units as the Ayyubids in this instance. So part of that is scouting and understanding what it is your enemy's intending. If they only have military schools, they're not planning an attack. These are for defense at this stage. If they go in archery range, stable early, especially a stable is your biggest indicator of early aggression. But if they go for archery range, stable, etc., stuff like that, then you can build units and expect an attack. But because they've gone here and at the beginning of the game only had 2 military schools, they're defensive. They're making spears, they're making Sipahi, but not a ton of Sipahi. But now that he's up, or going up rather, looking at the macro, perhaps a little late, but I'm going to be fair here. We're all looking at gold 2, so, but fairly well executed fast Imperial from Snowy here, and did make some units to defend. With just 2 military schools, he's going in. That's all he's thinking about. He's not thinking about, or they're not thinking about making units. They're not thinking about getting blacksmith techs. They're not thinking about getting eco techs. Oh, this guy didn't even get wheelbarrow. just survival techniques, which is good. That's actually a very smart thing to do when you move on to deer, but didn't really get any other eco techs, which is probably one of the reasons this is delayed. But anyway, regardless, my point being, you've hit Castle Age, which is great, and you have an army, which is also great. What are you doing with it? Because if your opponent is going to go Imp, then they can out-tech you. They haven't gone Imp yet, so get an eye on your opponent. You need to see what they're up to. I've noticed there hasn't been a ton of scouting. So knowing what it is your opponent wants to do is super key here. Like, against Ottomans, you can make some assumptions, and the assumptions are fine and great, but there's just, like I said, too much going on here. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Holy Hand. It's so in my Twitch chat here, for those of you on YouTube, we're just talking about this. It feels like this was a pro build that just, you know, has kind of gone wrong because it's hard to execute. It's difficult, very difficult to execute. So you're gonna want to just simplify this a lot, because again, if you have vision on this, your army would have been pretty effective, but now with the Imperial Age coming through and a second Mangonel out, it's gonna be a little harder to push in here. Another thing, and this is just a smaller thing, it's not as related to the big picture in this game. Once you hit Castle Age and you're up against Ottomans, they're gonna want armored units, so I would make some crossbows, because he's gonna make men-at-arms. Ottomans love to go into this men-at-arms comp with the free military school men-at-arms. And they're cheap out of the barracks, too. And now, Istanbul Observatory is coming out, and this army is starting to look a little scary in comparison. This is too late. This should have come a lot earlier. And again, a big part of that is that we didn't have unit production right at the beginning of the game when you got these military buildings out. So, those are the big notes. Those are like the biggest notes, really. I mean, this is one of the biggest notes. The walls were too early. They didn't really do anything because he hasn't tried to attack you. These walls aren't even like really cutting anything off. If he had Sipahi, he could have just kind of run around and harassed or come up the other way. So these are just delaying your build. You haven't delayed him at all. You've just delayed yourself with these walls. Oh, and yeah, another great point from Twitch chat. We've got Ayyubids here, and this is something to execute. We see it coming out now, actually. See it coming out now, which is the Dervish for the relics. But Ottomans can get these really easily. We already have the Imams securing these, and this is even late for Ottomans. So the relic gathering, this is again another thing, and don't worry too much because we are looking at gold 2, and that, you know, for Twitch chat as well, we're looking at a gold 2 game. But you know, remember to get your relics, especially when you're Ayyubids, because that helps you a lot, and your dervishes are very effective. Compared to other monks, they're one of the best. I would say they're one of the best monks in the game. So your opponent here gathering these relics, he actually is mis-microing the relics. Like, this Ottoman build is not difficult to execute. This guy's here in gold 2 with you, and I would say it's almost primarily because this Ottoman build is very, very easy to execute. He, like, not even microing everything, and is very late in terms of the timing. We don't even have bombards out yet. It's coming out now, and we don't have like siege workshops, and the stuff is coming out now. And do we have upgrades? Oh, we don't even have upgrades. So that is to say, if you're gonna push, especially once your opponent goes imp, they're not gonna immediately have a bombard. They're not gonna immediately have imperial upgrades. So you have a little bit of a window, but now this window is getting too tight because the upgrades can start coming through, or Janissaries. But it's too late because there's 3 Mangonels. You need to make sure to attack click into this as well. I see you try to dive the mangoes, and that's fine. But you do have a Springald, and they don't have a Springald. So you could have attack clicked and then target clicked the mangoes with your Springald and just tried to dodge some mango shots. That's like micro stuff. And yeah, Twitch chat had another good point, which is cavalry struggle a lot against castle to Imperial auto because of the Janissary. Janissary, let's just look at the stats here. Oh, well, what I was going to say is Janissary does 16 damage flat and has double damage against cavalry, which means they do 20 to 32 damage per shot to cavalry units. And since they're guns, they're armor piercing. So the cavalry here, not going to be very effective against a Janissary ball. Again, that's another smaller thing. But the big thing really was execution of the build order. You need to get units out faster, especially if you intend on attacking, and you need to decide between teching up or making units. You can't do both. If you do both, you're not going to have enough. So you've got to make a choice, especially as Ayyubids or a faction like that. Make a choice between what you're doing, and that's the biggest note. The walls only really need to start coming up if you see your enemy making units. At the point your walls came up, they really didn't do anything. And then, you know, your army charged in, and that you already kind of called it. I think you already realized what had happened. But so to Meatheras, thank you for submitting. I like the creativity. I like the goals. I like watching pro games or trying to figure out like new builds. I get that because I play so many different ways and play a lot of different styles and try different stuff. But it really hurts on the ladder sometimes. So make sure you're making a decision between Castle Age or units and stuff like that. Or are you making TCs? Like just you know, make a choice, because it was quite scattered. And that scattering meant you didn't have enough units to fight a guy who was executing the build of the Ottomans in a normal way, but not even in a particularly strong way, I want to say. Like, I'm not trying to be rude to it, but like, I've seen much faster fast imps with the same amount of units, you know? So putting pressure onto that would have really thrown your opponent off. So get units out fast or go Castle Age fast. What I like to do is Castle Age into Men-at-Arms or Ghulams, or in Feudal Age, just make a ton of archers and spears, which is quite effective against them. So those are my notes. Good game, Meatheras. Good game, Snowy. Thank you for submitting. I appreciate you. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe and come back for more. We're going to do more replay reviews. Submit your own videos for replay review. I will review them on Twitch if you'd like. I like to do them live, but I also just like to record them on my own. So if you have a video, if you have a game that you really are raring to have reviewed, you don't know why you lost, you're struggling with why you lost, maybe you've watched it and you can't figure it out, send it my way. I'm not an expert, I'm not a conqueror player, but I have a really good read for the game, I want to say. I'm not as good at playing it as I have knowledge. So I have a lot of good knowledge, but I'm definitely not as good at playing it as I am understanding and thinking about it. So send it my way. I'll take a look. I'm happy to review it. I'm happy to look at it. Thanks all. That's it for now.